By the time the Canadian federal parliamentary elections of October the 14th, 1935 were held, Canada's economic situation had started to improve slightly. However, unemployment was still massive, and still millions of Canadians were dependent on various relief measures, mostly private ones. Despite the fact that the outgoing Conservative government's Prime Minister Richard Bennett had proclaimed a so-called Canadian New Deal in January 1935, it had done rather little to employ or re-employ those people who were unemployed. While those measures had been approved by the Canadian House of Commons, I'm not sure about the Canadian Senate, they came too little and too late to save Prime Minister Bennett and his party from a massive election defeat. Not that Mackenzie King necessarily had a very credible alternative to offer. However, he had the convenient position of being able to accuse Bennett of inaction and indifference to the sufferings of millions of impoverished Canadians, while it was unclear what particularly helpful plan or what particularly clear plan Mackenzie King had to re-employ millions of Canadians and so forth. The number of seats remained at 245 in the Canadian House of Commons. The Liberals received about 44.7% of the popular vote, or about 1,968,000 Canadians voted for them. Their seat total rose dramatically to 171. The Conservatives collapsed to just 29.8% of the popular vote, or about 1,291,000, and only 39 Conservatives were elected. The right-wing social creditors, or créditistes in Quebec, although they didn't run candidates probably in Quebec yet, led by J.H. Blackmore, rose to 17 seats. Actually, they didn't run any candidates back in 1930. 181,000 people voted for them. They received at least a clear, if not a great majority of their votes in Alberta. And their share of the popular vote, national popular vote, or federal popular vote, was 4.1%. The Social Democratic Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, led by James Shaver Woodsworth, received about 9.3% of the popular vote, or 410,000 votes, but just 7 seats. The Reconstruction Party, which was a breakaway conservative faction led by H.H. Stevens, took 8.7% of the popular vote, or about 384,000, but only elected its leader. During his first years in office, the outgoing Prime Minister Richard Bennett had alienated those in his party who supported intervention in the economy. His last-minute conversion to interventionism alienated the rest of the party. Voters opted for Mackenzie King's promise of mild reforms to restore economic health.